Hi, and thank you for visiting my channel. For more information, kindly subscribe and follow. Now let's get started. WWE legend Rikishi shared an interesting message about the bloodline on social media today. The faction made a surprise appearance on this past Monday's episode of Raw during the main event. Rikishi took to Instagram today to make it known which son he will be supporting during the bloodline drama on WWE television. The Hall of Famer is the father of the Usos and Solo Sikoa in real life. The legend shared an original bloodline graphic that read "They not the ones" and tagged Jimmy USO as seen in the Instagram post below. The SmackDown faction showed up during Jey Uso's Intercontinental Championship defense against Braun Breaker last night on WWE Raw. They got involved in the action, and Breaker was able to capitalize on the distraction. Breaker leveled main event Jey with a spear to capture the Intercontinental Championship. Jimmy USO returned at Bad Blood to help Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes defeat Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu. Jimmy USO tried to convince the original tribal chief to allow Jey USO to help them, but he responded by saying no yeet. Reigns and Jey USO had a confrontation this past Friday night on SmackDown, and the former Intercontinental Champion had no interest in conversing with the former leader of the Bloodline. Former WWE writer predicts major problems with the Bloodline storyline. Wrestling legend Vince Russo recently predicted major issues for the Bloodline storyline on WWE television. Speaking on Sportskeeda Wrestling's Legion of Raw show, Russo compared the heel group to WCW's NWO faction and suggested that the same mistakes were being made. He noted that Sami Zayn could potentially return to the faction, and they could drag out the storyline for many years to come. I'm reading online that there are 3 other Samoans waiting in the wings. This is the NWO all over again. This is exactly what they did. The more I read, Jey is going to be right back with Jimmy and Roman, but they're going to be on the other side. They're going to be babyfaces. They're going to need another guy. They're going to bring Sami back in the mix. Bro, Heyman wasn't lying when he said top of the third. They can go on with this thing till 2030, he said. Solo Sikoa named himself the new tribal chief during Roman Reigns' hiatus from the company following WrestleMania XL. Only time will tell if Jey Uso will reunite with Jimmy and Roman Reigns on WWE television to combat his former faction. The tension within the Bloodline had been simmering for months. Once a dominant faction, the cracks had begun to show after Roman Reigns' iron grip on the WWE Universal Championship started to waver. With Jey Uso rebelling against the family leadership, Jimmy Uso caught in the middle, and Solo Sikoa rising through the ranks as Roman's enforcer, the family dynamics had become a web of conflicting loyalties. In the midst of this brewing war, one figure loomed larger than all others: Rikishi, the patriarch of the family, and father to Jimmy, Jey, and Solo. For weeks, fans speculated on Rikishi's stance. As a Hall of Famer, his opinion carried immense weight in the wrestling world. Yet, he remained silent, watching from the sidelines as his sons found themselves on opposite ends of the Bloodline's civil war. But all that was about to change. The decision on a special episode of Friday Night SmackDown, WWE hyped up a major announcement from Rikishi. The arena was electric with anticipation. Fans knew that whichever son Rikishi backed, it could tilt the balance of power in the ongoing battle for control of the Bloodline. The camera panned backstage, where Rikishi stood in front of a large Samoan flag. His imposing figure, clad in his signature black shades and Samoan traditional garb, commanded respect. The look on his face was solemn, betraying the weight of the decision he was about to make. As a father, nothing is more important to me than family, Rikishi began, his voice steady but filled with emotion. But in this war, this blood feud, it's become about more than just family. It's about respect. It's about honor. It's about leadership. The crowd was hushed, hanging on his every word. I have watched my sons tear each other apart. I've watched Solo become a warrior. I've watched Jimmy and Jey grow from boys into men. But now, the time has come for me to make my decision, to tell the world where I stand in this battle. The tension was palpable. The camera cut to Roman Reigns sitting in his private locker room, flanked by Paul Heyman and Solo Sikoa, watching the broadcast intently. In a different corner of the arena, Jey Uso was shown, pacing back and forth, his face a mask of determination. Rikishi paused, taking a deep breath before delivering his verdict. In this war for the bloodline, I'm backing Jey. The crowd's reaction in the arena erupted into a mix of cheers and gasps. Jey Uso, visibly emotional, paused mid-pace as the weight of his father's endorsement sunk in. Roman Reigns, on the other hand, sat motionless, his expression unreadable. Solo Sikoa clenched his jaw, the faintest flicker of conflict crossing his face. Rikishi continued, Jey, you have always been the heart of this family. You've fought, you've struggled, but you've never lost sight of who we are. You stood up to Roman, and you refused to let him break our family's spirit. The Hall of Famer's words were a powerful validation of Jey's journey. For months, Jey had been at the forefront of resisting Roman's authoritarian rule, enduring beatdowns and betrayals in his quest to reclaim the family's dignity. Roman's response back in the locker room, Roman slowly rose to his feet, his eyes narrowing. He made his choice, Roman said coldly, turning to Solo. Now we make ours. Paul Heyman, ever the strategist, looked nervous. Tribal Chief, with all due respect, Rikishi's influence over the WWE Universe and the Bloodline. Roman cut him off, his voice barely a whisper but full of menace. I don't care who he is. He thinks he can split this family? He thinks Jey is the future? He's wrong. Solo is the future of the Bloodline. Solo, standing at attention like the loyal soldier he had been for Roman, now found himself at a crossroads. His father had just endorsed Jey, the brother who had tried to break free from Roman's control. Yet, Solo's allegiance to Roman had been unwavering. For the first time, the conflict in his eyes was visible. Roman, sensing the hesitation, stepped closer to Solo. You know where your loyalty lies. You're not a follower. You're a leader, a destroyer. Jey's nothing without you. Remember that. Solo didn't respond, but the internal struggle was clear. Jey's rebuttal later that night, Jey Uso walked to the ring. The crowd's cheers were deafening, bolstered by Rikishi's earlier endorsement. Jey grabbed a microphone, his face a mix of pride and determination. Pops, I love you, Jey said, his voice raw with emotion. You don't know what this means to me. You've always had my back, and tonight, you let the whole world know where you stand. The crowd roared as Jey raised his hands, acknowledging his father's support. But this war? It ain't over, Jey continued. Roman, you heard him. Pops chose me. He knows I'm the one to bring this family back from the mess you made. Solo, you gotta make your choice, man. Are you gonna keep following Roman, or are you gonna stand with me, with us? The arena fell silent, the weight of Jey's words settling over the crowd. The challenge had been laid out. It wasn't just about Roman versus Jey anymore, it was about Solo, and the choice he would eventually have to make. The aftermath Rikishi's endorsement sent shockwaves through WWE. Fans speculated endlessly about how Roman Reigns would retaliate and what Solo's next move would be. Would Solo remain loyal to Roman, or would he heed his father's call and side with Jey? Backstage, rumors swirled that Rikishi himself might return to WWE programming to play a more active role in guiding his sons through this turbulent time. Some even wondered if Rikishi would lace up his boots one last time to stand beside Jey in a match against Roman and Solo. For now, the battle lines were clearer than ever. Rikishi had spoken, and his word carried the weight of generations. In the Bloodline Civil War, the tide was turning in Jey Uso's favor. But Roman Reigns wasn't one to take defeat lightly, and with Solo still under his influence, the war was far from over. As the episode of SmackDown came to a close, one thing was certain: the Bloodline would never be the same again.